All right, we're here with Andrew Kao, who is currently in both Anything Goes and Nice Work If You Can Get It. He kind of flip-flops between both. Why don't you talk a little bit about when you decided you wanted to be an actor? I know you kind of are a triple threat, you do everything.
Yeah, well, I started later on in my life. I wasn't one of those who started singing and dancing when he was 4 or 5. I did a couple musicals and show choir things in high school. And so I was maybe 15, 16 years old when I kind of got bit by the theater bug. And then moved on in college, decided I wanted to pursue it. Went to a college in Wisconsin. I'm from Wisconsin, is where I grew up, and went to a college there just for musical theater. Discovered that I really enjoyed and kind of had somewhat of a talent for dance, so I started dancing when I was about 19, 20, and then moved to another school in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, where I got my dance degree and my musical theater degree. I moved out here. I've been out here for about 8 years now.
What was that transition like coming to New York? Were you apprehensive at first, or were you?
I had a little bit of support. My uncle and his partner lived down in the Village, and so I had spent a few, short vacations out here and a couple of weeks. So I was kind of prepared and kind of knew what to expect out of the city. So I wasn't being just dropped off in the middle of Times Square. So I kind of knew what was going on, but it was different, definitely different being completely on my own, making those choices for myself and all of that, especially coming from Wisconsin, right? It's not that huge of a state, not that large of a city. Green Bay is where it's from. So it was a bit of a culture shock, but I was prepared for it. My uncle prepared me well for it.
What were some of the first roles that you booked when you got here to the city?
It took me a while. I think the first thing that I booked was something at the Cedar Lake Ensemble. I'm pretty sure they still exist down in the Village there. And they were actually doing a collaborative like dance, theater, art type thing, and I did a more theatrical thing. It was like a monologue that I had in the midst of this kind of variety show. That was one of the first things I did in the city. And then shortly after I booked, I did an educational Shakespeare tour, which is actually where I met my wife. So that worked out pretty well for me. But that was about 6 months, about a year after I first moved out to New York. I did that Shakespeare tour, Romeo and Juliet, and Midsummer Night's Dream. And it was fun, but it was educational stuff, and those audiences aren't always the most appreciative. But like I said, I got out there a lot of it.
Right. This is educational for you as well.
Yes, indeed.
When you came back from doing that, what did you do after that?
It was after that I slowly started to kind of work my way up the ladder, I feel. Soon after that gig, I signed with my agent that I'm still with now, and I think the very first gig that I got after that was a West Side Story, and that thus began my long career of West Side Stories. I did 5 or 6, and that first West Side Story that I did was where I got my equity card, and it was my first like real professional gig. I guess I'd done a couple other small non-equity like Christmas shows and other random things, but I consider that to be my first like, okay, I'm actually making this happen now, moving forward. That was at the Atlanta Theater of the Stars. I was just dancing in the ensemble, but got my equity card there and got my feet wet in the West Side Story world, and then on we went with more West Side Stories for a while. Yeah.
And now, do you consider yourself your strongest of the 3, acting, singing, and dancing, the strongest as a dancer, or is that something you've been?
I don't know if I really consider myself like incredibly strong in any of the particular disciplines. I think my strength is being pretty competent. Is a decent word in each of those. You put me up against the best singers in New York, I'm not going to do well. You put me up against the best dancers in New York, I'm not going to do well. You put me up against the best actors in New York, I'm not going to do well. But if you need someone who's kind of well-rounded, can cover a couple tracks, can do a couple of things, that's generally where I fit in.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the experiences that you've had on the New York stage in terms of Broadway? I know that you are currently, in 2 different shows and are a Vacation Swing.
Yeah.
What is it like doing 2 different shows back and forth like that?
Actually, Anything Goes actually closed.
Oh, right.
A couple months ago. So I just went on into Nice Work a few months after Anything Goes closed for about a month and a half as a Vacation Swing. And that experience was different for me because I'd actually never been in a track where I didn't have the standard 6 to 8 week rehearsal period with tech and all of that. It was one of those learn the show in 3-4 days in a rehearsal studio and then on you go. So that was a very new experience for me, and I'm really glad I had it. It was that night that I went on first in Nice Work, and the curtain came off, and I was like, this is for real. I can't just say, wait, okay, what was that moment again? But thankfully, a lot of my Anything Goes friends who were made the transition from Anything Goes into Nice Work were there when I arrived. So I kind of felt like I was just returning to family and stuff.
Is that more challenging to get thrown in as a Vacation Swing than being on as an understudy and not knowing when you're going to go on?
Perhaps. I mean, I think they both have their challenges. I think going on as an understudy is tough because you just don't know. I mean, you could even, and in many cases, a lot of the big understudies that I've worked with have gone on without a rehearsal. It's like, okay, we've been open a couple weeks and you're on. We haven't had time to organize a rehearsal. And that's stressful in itself, having to work through that. I think my experience with my Vacation Swinging was a little more specific. I knew exactly what tracks I was doing, when I was going to do them, because certain people were on vacation or injured or whatever. So I think that was a little easier to know, okay, focus on just this track, this is what you're going to do. The advantage, I think, that an understudy in the show has is they have the entire rehearsal process to sit through it. Mm-hmm. They have a chance to watch the show so many times, to be a part of the show, to hear the show every night. Whereas, a Vacation Swing like myself just kind of gets dumped in. You get the chance to watch it a couple times, but you haven't had as much experience with the show as an understudy who's in the cast has.
What has been your favorite role that you've played so far?
In my life.
In your life?
It's got to be Bernardo in West Side Story. Like I said, I've done a handful of West Sides, and I've pretty much played every shark that you could play in that show. And I've done Bernardo a handful of times. My favorite was I did Bernardo at the Stratford Shakespeare Festival in 2009. And it was just an amazing production. I felt it was one of the proudest, most proud leaving that stage every night and walking on that stage door, because I really felt like that production was really put together quite well, and had a really talented cast, crew, and team. So I definitely would say it was that with Bernardo.
What advice would you give to people who are just starting out in the industry, who maybe, like you in the beginning, did wait a while before you booked a job? Were there times when you thought about throwing in the towel? Did you know that this is what you were meant to do, and that's why you stuck it out?
It's tough. I mean, I think the one thing that you hear over and over and over from people is how tough this city can be and how tough this business is, and it's certainly not fair. You can work 10 times harder than the next guy and not get half as much work as that person does. So I think if it's really what you want to do, I think the very first thing that you need to put in your pocket is a whole bunch of patience. Some people will walk into New York and do one audition, and it's perfect. It's the perfect role for them. It's a perfect opportunity. They're just at the right place at the right time, and they will just immediately have their break. Some people, like myself, will slowly climb up the ladder and take 8 years before you're on Broadway. And other people will continue to try for years and years of their life, and it just won't ever happen for them. And it doesn't mean that they're not talented. It doesn't mean that they're not working hard. It's just because the business is the way it is. So I would say patience is one of the most important things to have. Realize that your path is going to be very different from the next person, and you can't compare yourself to anybody else's success or anybody else's story, because yours is going to be very different from everyone else's. Just enjoy the ride and have some patience.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Of course, Brian, I appreciate it.